At just 10 years old, Catherine was solving the toughest math problems in her elementary school. The principal, impressed by her brilliance, called her parents to announce that Catherine had earned a scholarship to skip ahead to junior high, landing a spot in one of the top black schools in 1926. Despite the severe racial segregation across America, where even bathrooms, hospitals, and schools were separated by skin color, Catherine's teachers and principal believed in her potential. They saw her as someone who would grow up to show the world that black people deserve equal respect and opportunity. 35 years later, Catherine was an adult working for NASA. One afternoon, her car broke down on the way to work with her friends Dorothy and Mary. They were in a rush as they all held important roles at NASA. When a police officer approached and black people weren't allowed to stop on the road without suspicion, Mary explained they worked for NASA and that their delay could even impact the American space mission. Understanding the urgency, the officer decided to help them on their way. At NASA, Catherine found herself facing countless barriers. One day, a stack of documents with vital data blacked out was dropped on her desk. A white colleague couldn't resist mocking her, saying she wasn't qualified to see that information. But Catherine wasn't deterred. Squinting through the paper, she caught a faint glimpse of the hidden data and immediately spotted the reason behind the rocket's repeated failures. She went to the blackboard and, in a burst of genius, worked out a critical calculation. But just as the solution came to her, she had to rush nearly a kilometer away to use the designated bathroom for black employees. When her teasing colleague saw the equation on the board, he was astonished. Soon, everyone gathered, realizing that Catherine, the only black person in the department, had solved the problem they'd struggled with for a year. Despite her brilliance, her career had been held back due to her race. From a young age, Catherine had been far ahead, even teaching high school students before she turned 6. But at NASA, her high intelligence was relegated to performing low-level calculations in the basement, a position enforced by the color of her skin. Then one day, an urgent call came from the space program's team. They needed a mathematical genius, and Catherine's supervisor recommended her. Hopeful for a breakthrough, she arrived at her new assignment, only to be met with suspicion and given the work of a cleaner, reflecting her new colleague's biases. Her boss assigned her to check and verify calculations by her white peers, and the chief engineer, Paul, openly resented her. He blacked out crucial information in her reports and treated her with clear disdain. Despite the challenges, Catherine committed herself to the work, determined to prove her value. After some time, Catherine becomes uncomfortable and asks a colleague where the ladies' room is, only to be met with, "I have no idea where your bathroom is." Forced to trek across the entire building, she finally finds a colored bathroom back on the West Campus. Even in the bathroom, she has no break from her work, scribbling numbers to keep up with the demands. After nearly an hour, she returns to the office, only to stay late to finalize data for her boss. Yet, when she hands it over, he throws it in the trash, reminding her that outdated data has no value in aerospace. Discouraged, she leans against the wall outside his office, feeling the weight of her efforts turn to futility. The next day, while reaching for coffee, she catches her colleagues casting strange looks her way. Soon, a separate coffee pot labeled "colored" appears near the machine, yet it's empty. No one cares to fill it for her. Even when she identifies the cause of the rocket's failure, she still faces skepticism. One afternoon, she's called into her boss's office. He questions her access to confidential data, insinuating she has no right to it. Cornered, Catherine explains that she merely saw it through the light. Upon discovering that Catherine had been reading data through the paper's thin light, her boss surprises everyone by ordering Paul to stop blacking out her documents. With this gesture of respect, Catherine feels encouraged and dedicates herself even more to her work. But in April 1961, when the Soviet Union launches the first manned spacecraft, NASA is thrown into crisis, pushing everyone into long hours to keep pace in the space race. One evening, as everyone's working overtime, Paul dumps a stack of documents on Catherine's desk, instructing her to complete them by the end of the day. Once again, she needs the restroom and braves a kilometer run in heavy rain to reach the colored bathroom. Even there, she keeps working, but staring into the mirror, she feels the sting of her situation. Soaked and exhausted, she returns to find her boss angry, asking why she wasn't at her desk. Catherine, weary of it all, explains that she had gone to the restroom. When he doubts her, she can no longer hold back. She vents her frustration, asking why black employees must go to a distant bathroom, are paid less, and are forbidden from drinking office coffee. Finished, Catherine begins packing up to leave, fed up with her colleagues' hypocrisy. Her boss, moved by her words, walks to the coffee pot and rips off the colored sticker. The next day, he gathers the team and, in a bold gesture, separates everyone by skin color. Then, he takes a steel bar and smashes the colored ladies' room sign, declaring, "No more colored restrooms, no more white restrooms, just restrooms. Use whichever is closest." His words bring a spark of hope to black employees, hinting at real change in the workplace. Finally, in May 1961, after months of intense work, the United States successfully completes the test flight of its first manned spacecraft. The next goal is to send astronauts into space, requiring incredibly precise calculations. Any error could result in astronauts burning up in the atmosphere. Catherine knows she needs real-time data and requests to attend a high-level briefing at the Pentagon. When Paul repeatedly rejects her request, Catherine takes it to her boss. Paul argues that she's not qualified and that no woman has ever attended, but Catherine presents a compelling case, and her boss agrees, despite Paul's objections. When Catherine arrives at the Pentagon, the room falls silent. No woman has ever set foot in these meetings. Soon, however, her presence proves invaluable. When her boss asks Paul for the speed of the capsule's orbit, he struggles to find the answer. Calmly, Catherine answers 17,544 miles per hour. Impressed, the officers then ask when they can calculate the landing site. Facing their expectant eyes, the boss turns to Catherine. At the blackboard, her mind races, and within minutes, she lists the advanced formulas and calculates the landing coordinates. Her accuracy earns the trust of astronaut John Glenn and leaves the room in awe. Paul, meanwhile, is left humiliated. But not long after, Catherine learns she's being reassigned. NASA has acquired a state-of-the-art computer that can process data much faster than any human. As she leaves, her boss's assistant approaches with a gift, a pearl necklace. Though Catherine knows this change isn't her boss's choice, she realizes it marks the end of her role. Catherine returns to work among her black colleagues, but a sense of dissatisfaction lingers. Soon, however, the day of the rocket launch arrives. When the boss realizes that the computer's coordinates are incorrect, he urgently informs astronaut John Glenn, who's about to board. John replies, "Let Catherine check the numbers. If she says they're good, I'm ready. If not, I'm not going." The boss immediately sends someone to find Catherine. A colleague races to the basement, bringing her the crucial document that determines the rocket's trajectory. With her keen mind, Catherine recalculates the landing site. She then rushes the data across a kilometer to the launch center, only to be turned away at the door. Feeling defeated, she prepares to leave when, suddenly, her boss opens the door, hands her an ID badge, and invites her inside to witness the launch. Standing in the launch center, Catherine's excitement builds. She trusts her calculations more than the computers, and her extra decimal points give everyone confidence. Thanks to Catherine's coordinates, John Glenn boards, and the rocket launches successfully. However, after 2 Earth orbits, the mission faces a critical issue with the heat shield. Fortunately, the landing goes smoothly, and the capsule touches down precisely at the coordinates Catherine had calculated. While everyone celebrates, Catherine slips out quietly. Her boss calls her back, asking her to stay on with the Space Department. She agrees, becoming a vital figure in the team and a symbol for black excellence at NASA. Over time, her friend Dorothy becomes NASA's first black director, and Mary the first black female aerospace engineer. Catherine herself continues on to the next moon landing program, while Paul, once her harshest critic, changes his views and even serves her coffee. Based on a true story, this tale of Catherine's resilience and courage against racial prejudice serves as a lasting inspiration, reminding us all to reach for the stars, no matter the obstacles.